Welcome to the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast, where we share real-life experiences for successful Caribbean property entrepreneurs. Learn about their successes, challenges, and strategies to help you create your plan for financial freedom. Now let's get started.
I love my community. It teaches you the importance of being together even through difficult times. Business owners doing their best to make it through. Fishermen and farmers working hard to put food on our tables. Nurses caring for the sick shows me who we are made of. People who care. I guess it's about growing together.
To ruminate, to create your ultimate living space. And at Courts, you'll find what you need. Choose from our wide range of furniture, electronics, and accessories to complete your space. We're here and ready to assist. Give us a call to place your order. Shop online at shopcourts.com or visit us in store. So ruminate at Courts, bringing value home.
Welcome to episode 25 of the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast. We want to thank you for your support. Thank you for viewing, sharing. Thank you for getting into the conversation. Remember to please check us out on IG, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Actually, we say Instagram already, IG. But all the social channels at Caribbean Property Investing Network. Today, as always, we have a very, very special guest. This guest is special because he provided a lot of motivation to me, as well as giving me some good advice on this journey. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Garry Prosper. Welcome to the show, Garry.
Well, thank you for having me on, Sam. It's a pleasure for me being here with you, having this interview. I'm always willing to share, as you know, my experience whenever I am called upon. I feel I'm duty bound to do so. I don't know if it's because of my stint at the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, but this is how it is for me, and I really would like to continue that way because I want to share my experience with everybody, each and everybody who actually wants to hear something motivational, because it's difficult. It can be difficult, very.
Well, I mean that's why you're here, Garry. I could attest to that you have been very generous with knowledge. Whenever I've come approach you, ask you questions, you share it, and not many people like to share business information or business strategy, because I think there's a commonly held view that if I share and make you better, there'll be less for me. But like you, I see it differently. I see the more I share, the more people learn, and hopefully my expectations that person as well is going to pay it forward and it continues. So we have a more informed society, people who can make more informed and better decisions. So why don't you just tell us about yourself and your background, Garry?
Very well. Well, I grew up in Corinth. Life was very difficult. I don't think it's out of the ordinary, because most of my peers that I've spoken to similarly have been through the same experience as I have. It's nothing special. I mean, it's the hard life, hard knocks. I mean, you grow up in a one-bedroom house, everybody, in one room, and then you basically had to share everything. And one of the things that I learned, during that experience, I would call it experience, because even though it was difficult, but it was some form of experience that really taught me a lot. That helping each other is supposed to be the order of the day. I mean, if your brother asks you for a helping hand, it's like a given. You're supposed to help when you called upon. And then, by growing up, taught me that, and as I travel along, through school, it was very difficult. I mean, I had to work during my vacation. I had to work even on weekends in order to make ends meet. You know, Well, growing up, my father. Whoa, you know the story.
No,
My
the
mother,
people don't know the
my
story.
mother, and my grandparents are the ones were the ones chipping in for most of my school life, if not all of my school life. And God bless my aunt. I mean, she really tried hard with me. I mean, But growing up, the discipline was there because my grandfather insisted that I cannot stay idle. I had to do something, So the gardening was all part of it. The animal wearing was part of it. The, the farm was all part of it. I mean, the hustle and bustle going to castles with my grandparents to sell something and quick in and out was all part of it also. I remember a point in time at primary school, I actually had to be picking plums, picking whatever fruits available, so at the end of the day, I could have a meal. And I had to bring the rest of the money back to my grandmother, and and then she would actually count it and show me how you do business. You actually, you could take a portion, and then you could save a portion, and you could leave something else for somebody else. So it was all a learning process for me, though very difficult, because I tell you those days were challenging, because imagine you born you I mean basically no pipe borne water, no electricity. So I went through all that, you know, and at a point in time during my secondary school life, I decided that I want to do something different apart from working the farm, because in my grandfather's mind, I would have taken over the reins of the farm. And, so I decided to do different. And there was some form of a generational gap and some form of tension there. But at the end, he understood, and then from secondary school, I joined the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, and I attached. Well, it was the band unit, the force, but the band unit I was attached to. So I gave it my all. I played well, um, guitar, trombone, and I actually performed as an artist. Well, some people might know, some people won't, because that wasn't it didn't last that long. And then I decided, hey, my father is into business, my mom is into business. I was taught from an early life, or earlier in my life, that I can actually do business. My grandmother taught me my first lesson. So then I should try something. So I decided to try the car rental. It was very expensive to start off with, but then, I had to bite the bullet, and I had to tell myself, well, it's either either I stay in the band or I start my business, you know. And then I opted to start the business. I had nothing. I started with nothing. I don't know how can I explain that when I said I started with nothing. Um,
First of
okay.
all, Gary, two things, two quick questions. Did you have any experience in music when you decided to join the band section of the Royal Central Police Force?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I remembered growing up as a child. My uncle played a lot of music in the house, especially reggae music. And I became really attached to reggae, to the point where that is where I found comfort when things was real bad with me. I mean, in terms of um, my relationship with my people and my parents and other people, and that when I felt real despondent, reggae music was what kept me on track because of the lyrical content, conscious reggae, that is. That's Peter Tosh and Bob Marley, Robert Nesta. I mean, I learned a lot from the songs that they sang, and the lyrical content was really impactful on me. So I decided to learn the guitar. I learned the guitar on my own, and it is in a barber shop. My brother and I owned a barber shop at a point in time, um, that I learned music. I used this space to learn music and to harness my skill and to hold my skills there, to the
Okay.
point where I think in the 1997 or 1996, I actually won a competition. Yes, singing Wolfcatcher. I think that song
Okay,
just came out. Yeah, yeah. I actually won a
that's Nasio.
competition with
That's
Nasio
Nasio
Fontaine.
Fontaine, right?
Yes, Nasio
Okay,
Fontaine. Yes.
all right. So you were exposed to music because of your uncle in the extended family. You joined the
Hmm.
police band. You're a musician. You won a competition. You had a single. Yeah.
Yes.
What made you decide? Okay, you're a musician of some sort. Maybe you could sing at the hotel, but you also have a full-time job as a member
Hmm.
of the police band. What drove you to start the car rental business, and why did you choose the car rental business?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I always wanted to do business. I remember from school before I left, or during school, I started a young business venture there at the Sarah Simmons. I went to Sarah Simmons. Yes, I started a young business venture there under Miss Pascal as principal, and it really was. There was some satisfaction that I got. So upon me leaving school, I always said to myself, I must start a business. Because I had always had this entrepreneurial um, sense, that I wanted to explore. So um, during my time in the police band, I decided to have a business where I don't have to give it too much attention. A business where I could just conduct and probably go back to work as a bandsman. So car rental was more appealing to me because I could just drop a vehicle at any point in time or anywhere and then just go back to work. And so I did. But at a point in time, it became real hectic, it became real busy for me. The business took off, and then I decided that it was time to leave, time to part with the band. And so I did this, and in and I also incorporated other aspects of the business related to the car rental, that I really happy now that I did.
Gary, let me ask a question for the benefit of our audience. They like to know a lot of details, but I always say I allow our guests, to share as much or as little as they would like to. Overall, we're just trying to get the key message. Can you share with our audience how you were able to get your first rental car?
Yes. Okay. So here I am, Royal Lucian Police Band. Um, I was still very new, well, relatively new. Yeah, my salary wasn't much. It was about, let me see, about 1,300 to 1,500 EC. And I want to start a car rental business. Now, bear in mind, the price of a car is about, well, for a good vehicle that I could actually do business with, probably 20 something thousand dollars. But then I have a construction background. So what I did with the little savings that I had, as I probably had about $5,000 or maybe less saved, and I could have done well. Because of my experience with my brothers and my uncles, well, I gained a little skill in construction, and tiling was one of the things that I did in my spare time. So I decided during my vacation that I'm going to try to get some tiling jobs in order to be able to start the business, to raise funds to start the business. And so I got a job I got a job at a guest house. Imagine, to tile about, it was about 5 or 6 rooms and a lobby area, and then there were other areas that I needed to tile also. So I took on that job, and it actually paid something like, let me see, 13,000 EC, 13,000 EC. So here I am on vacation. So I went to work, and I actually did that job on my own by myself. I worked night and day just to make sure that I complete that job so I can get the funds in order to start the business. Okay, it was very difficult. My goodness, it was hard. But that's what I had to do to get the funds. So I did. And then I bought my first car. It was a crash car. I brought it down from Japan. So I have a friend of mine who is a bodyman, so he fixed it. I paid him, and then there I was with my first car, my
Okay,
first
Gary.
investment. Yeah.
So Gary, so fast forward, the car rental takes off, and then we meet. I met you because your lot was bordering a small lot that I also purchased. So
Yes.
why don't we get into your real estate journey? Tell us, one, why you bought that lot, why you bought it there, and how your real estate journey evolved.
Wonderful. Well, with the car rental business taking off, I wanted someplace that was convenient to serve my clients. And also, with the thought of me leaving the band, because I know at some point I'd have to leave. So I wanted something to complement what I was doing. So I decided to do the guest house. And the plan was to just have everything for business, the entire spot cut for business. But then the plans changed slightly. I made slight adjustments, and but then the plan still remained. So I decided to start on my own because since I went since let me see, I went to the bank and I was denied the loan. I wanted 500,000 EC, and I was actually denied. So I decided to go to a plan B. And my plan B was to put myself at work. That's when you met me. So I decided to resign from the band, which was kind of crazy because I didn't have a proper footing yet in construction, and the building was not completed. It was at a stage where not even livable. But I decided to take a leap of faith, and then I put myself to work, use the funds that I had available to me until I got the structure about, it was about 30 to 40% finished, 30 to 40% done. And I got a call from the bank asking me whether or not I still wanted the loan. Yes. Well, that was a godsend. So I decided, okay, yes, I still want the loan. So I went down and I signed for it. And then I was able to complete the structure. Now, in completing the structure, I had no idea how I would market the place because I didn't know about Airbnb, I didn't know about VRBO, I didn't know about no website that promotes properties. I didn't know anything. I just decided I want to do rooms and I want to rent it. And I want to do self-contained rooms and I'm going to rent it.
Stick up in, Garry. Stick up in. Stick up in. Stick up in. I always have to keep ensure that we all on the same page. So when you decided to start building on the lot, first of all, at what point in the journey did you acquire the lot? Like, I think we need to know, like, at the time you started the lot, how many cars did you have at that time when you decided to do that? And how did you choose there? And finally, I know it's 3 questions. And finally, why did you decide to do self-contained rooms? So the first one was about how many cars did you have when you acquired the lot, and you started to build, and then why did you choose to do self-contained rooms? I know you said you wanted a business that was closely related to the car rental. Why did you decide to do a guest house right there?
Okay. So at the time prior to me starting the guest house, I had about 11 cars. Yeah, the business grew to 11 cars. It was quite modest, and I was generating enough to do something else. And at that point, I had already acquired the lot because I acquired the lot under some strange circumstances. Because I was kind of just passing, I was passing, and then I think it was Valmo's son, Money, who was on the lot, and I asked him whether or
Grandson,
not
grandson.
grandson, oh,
Manny's
sorry,
grandson.
grandson. Money, okay, yes, grandson. And I asked him whether or not was available. He told me that somebody else had already, you know, somebody else had already put a deposit on the lot, so he doesn't think that it's available. But then I kept calling him because I told him I wanted a lot on that street. So I kept calling him, and one day he called me and told me that there was a lot available, but he doesn't know if I'll want it, and because the place is a flood-prone area, and he explained to me. He went on to explain, but I told him, nevertheless, I wanted to I wanted to see it. And my neighbor, when I came there to see the lot, my neighbor encouraged me And my neighbor speaks very loud, Mr. St. Bryce. He speaks very loud. And and his words were, boing.
For our Caribbean nationals who don't know Creole, poe in Creole means take it, grab it,
Yeah,
take it
yeah,
now.
point. That means take it. Yeah, take it. He say it's good. Take it, point. Point abueza. Take it. So that really encouraged me to, take the step forward. Although I'd already made up my mind, but it really gave me the confidence to do so. So I purchased a lot, and then after not long, after a year or two, I decided to start construction because I had already done a plan. I already had a plan, but before the plan was approved, I shouldn't say that, but I must say before the plan was approved, I already start construction. But on my own before it was approved.
I certainly must point out that we don't recommend any of our listeners to build on a lot before you have the permit or the approval, because one, it may stop you and you may never be able to continue the building, as we've seen in some instances in some islands, some countries, you have unfinished buildings. And two, that money you have in that ground would have just been wasted, and you might not be able to do anything in that space for a long time, because the case might be caught up in court and preventing you with the opportunity of going further ahead. So Garry, continue. So I guess you had some level of assurance that you're abiding within the code, so you started. But we don't recommend that. But tell us. So you started building before you got the approval. Continue.
Yes, but fortunately for me, the approval came swiftly and quickly. So I was able to continue construction without any glitches, and the whole guest house concept began to take root. Yes, it took root because one, my father explained to me that he had some terrible experiences with long term rentals. And I said to myself, this is something that I don't want to be caught up in. Because at present, he has a number of tenants owing him. And, and that's it. There's nothing you could do. Cut, whatever, that's it. I mean, that money is gone and lost. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do the short-term rental. And also I like to accommodate people, because of my experience entertaining and on stage and in the Lucian Police band, going out to the communities, playing and just watching people smile and watching the happiness on their faces. The happiness that they show when the music is being played. I mean, that really captivated me. So, the guest house was one way of actually entertaining people and bringing people to your place, and actually making them feel good and feel happy and satisfied. Yep. And I had no way of knowing how I would have marketed the guest house. Absolutely none. I went into it blindfolded. And after the place was completed, well, during that time, I met you and Sam. I met you, and you spoke to me about VRBO, and then someone else spoke to me about Airbnb. I'm not sure it was you or another friend of mine spoke to me about Airbnb, and then I was taken aback. I was happy, but I didn't know they had such um, online
Yeah.
platform, sorry, that exists, that you could actually promote your business almost for free, even though it's for a small amount. But I mean, that's negligible compared to the amount of business that you could get. So I jump on the bandwagon, and I must say that that's one of the best decisions I've made, because of the fact that a lot of people discouraged me, when I wanted to take that leap. No one understood. But then only two persons I spoke to who really gave me the push and the drive in order to take that step. That's my madam now, Diane, and my dad. Yeah, these are the two persons. Everybody else were crying because they were telling me, boy, you are living a secured government um,
Job.
employment, yeah, employment, yeah, job, and then you are actually venturing out into something that you know nothing about. You don't even know if you're going to succeed. But then that's what success is all about. Success is about taking a leap of faith, you know, doing certain things that you wouldn't do ordinarily, because any person who takes that step, I mean, it's not easy, because you get all sorts of discouragement and all sorts of things running through your head. But then when you decide upon something, the best thing to do is to take that step. Take that step, because you don't want to leave this, if this place, you don't want to leave this earth and tell yourself that you regret not doing this or that. I think, as a man, as a human being who exists and who walk the face of this earth, I believe you have a duty to yourself, you know, to obey yourself and not to let yourself down when you decide upon something. I think that's one of the things that, a lot of people have not gotten yet, because that sense of security, it is false. I repeat, that sense of security that you get, especially in a job area, in job environment, in government, it is false. Okay. And I think that when you make up your mind to do something, take the first step. That's my
I
advice.
think Gary, this is a good time for me to say this. I think that the pandemic, although the almost the ultimate disaster, really showed all of us that there's no job security, and nothing is guaranteed. So you always have to make a plan for yourself. Before we move on to the challenges that you had other than getting financing, I always like to understand the thought process behind the space that you had. You wanted to do a guest house. How did you decide how many rooms? How did you decide, how you apportion the space and the design into to get to one where you get maximization for your investment, and two, at the same time, which I found quite comfortable, the room designs.
All right. Yeah, that's a good question. So whilst I was into the phase, um, I decided to do a little bit of a research, because I watch the tiny house craze that's piercing through the waves now, through television
Hmm.
and other
Hmm.
mediums, and I saw how people could actually live minimalistically. You don't need a big space. Even growing up, I grew up in a one bedroom house, and I mean, there was literally everything. Everything was there. I mean, they had the table, they had the chairs, they had the stove. Everything was there in a very small space. So that kind of gave me the idea that if I could put not everything, but most of those things that makes life comfortable in one small space, that somebody could live there for a week, 2 weeks, even a month, even a year, that I could actually maximize on the amount of rooms that I needed, because I didn't know at the time how many rooms that I wanted to put, you know. But then as a design became more revealing, I decided, okay, then the ground floor, I knew I could have had 6 rooms in a on 5,000 square feet of space and still have space all around. And the top floor, I mean, I could have put 4 to 5 rooms there, and the top floor, and the floor after that, I could have probably done the same thing. So the design came in as a result of even my experience growing up, seeing that a small space, you could maximize your property by building small spaces and putting the basic stuff in there that are necessary for good living or for comfortable living.
And what were some of the challenges you experienced? Would you say top three challenges you experienced other than getting the financing, which typically is number one for most people?
My top challenge, well, getting the expertise, the workers, and putting all the materials together, because in St. Lucia it's so difficult to get the materials that you really want, in order to make your space what you want it to be. Um, it was very challenging. I had to think out of the box, to use substitute material, in order to make, I mean, to make the rooms as conducive as possible, because most of the things that I wanted, I actually had to make it. I actually had to try to. I brought in a friend of mine to make in Rafik, to make some of the furnishings and um, some of the framings, and some of the finishings that I wanted, because it's so difficult to get the material that you need. And still, it's I felt that I kind of fall short because of that. And and then it yeah be, yeah, because of the difficulty in getting sourcing the materials that you need in order to have your place the way that you want to.
Okay. What other challenges would you say made it, even more difficult um, between when you started and where you are today now?
Okay, apart from financing, I would say the weather, because during the time that I was building, I mean, the weather was erratic, very erratic. I remember at one point that we plastered the entire side of the building, and immediately after that it rained, and then a whole day of work got washed down. Entire day of work got washed away. Um, because even though I would check the weather regularly, I would see what's happening, and the weather was very unpredictable for me, and then I lost quite a bit, in material and even in labor, that I had to improvise once again, and try to see how I could remedy the situation by probably waiting. So that kind of prolonged the construction process much longer than I would have loved to. But then, it is part of the sacrifice, or part of what I had to go through in order to achieve my end goal.
When you were two things. Let me address that issue about the weather. Unless it's hurricane season, most people do expect us to have challenges in the Caribbean. But that kind of weather and the timing of the torrential rain, as you said, can prove quite expensive. So typically, how it's done is, especially if it's a two-floor building, you try to get to the roof as quickly as possible. You don't do any of the
Yeah.
side columns, and you go up, and then after you do the roof, then you plaster the inside and leave the outside for brighter days. That's typically how I've seen my contractor do it. In terms of being listed on the online platforms, you have to get pricing correct, Garry. My units were 450 square feet, and I priced between $99 a night and 129 a night, but mainly between 99 and 109. You price anywhere from 40 to 80. And I was thinking about this, Garry. You've really maximized the space, because my units are two-bedroom. Well, the initial units were two-bedroom, and 99% of the time I get a couple. So I always have one bedroom empty, and you can't rent that bedroom out. Whereas with you, for half that space, you can rent one self-contained unit, which is what, maybe 200 square feet, for
Yeah.
$70. So I think there's something to consider for our listeners. If you're thinking of doing short term, for a price point, I think under 150, you probably need to do one bedroom, because you can have it a lot denser, because most of our guests, most of the guests, the transient guests, are persons who want self-catering accommodation and a place to sleep, and maybe a balcony for relaxation. So why don't you tell us how you went about choosing your price point? Was that from your own intuition, or we know that the platforms give some guidance? And what was your strategy there? Who are you catering to?
Okay. Yes. Well, first of all, I realize also that St. Lucia have been predominantly a couples destination, because I think several hotels have gotten the award of, you know, of having the best romance or well, St. Lucia on the whole,
St. Lucia, yes.
for
Yes.
romance. Yeah, is number one for romance.
And
So,
Sandals more than 10 years. Sandals more than 10 years in a row. And number one
right.
hotel for well, I think, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So with that in mind, I figured, okay, well, most persons who come to the island are actually couples. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to do the studio apartments. And the other reason is, um, for the price and everything. I said to myself, my location is okay. I don't have a like a like one of the best locations out. So I figured to myself, if I could price if I could price the rooms right, below, or way below, some of the guest houses around, because I checked the prices of the guest houses around. I saw that they were anywhere between 60 US and even 90 US, anywhere between there, depending on how many beds in the room and the amenities and all of that. So I decided to price the rooms just a little below, so I could get more traction. It will be more attractive to persons, I mean, who travel in the islands, because not everybody can afford a certain price point. So if you could come, to my place, you could actually stretch your dollar, because you can pay 40 or 50 US for a room. You could rent a car, and you could go out, and you could actually um, patronize the community. You know, you could actually, I mean, help in other persons in the community. I mean, do business also. I mean, you actually creating an opportunity for other persons out there who wants to be in the tourism industry. So all that came to mind. So that's why I price the rooms right just a little below, um, like 80 or 70. I mean, sometimes I even go down, go as low as in the 30s, depending on what time of the year, and it depends on how long you're in the room for. So we actually work with a lot of our customers. If you go on Airbnb right now, I'm certain you could find us there for way less than 40 US a night.
But you have a minimum um, number of nights, right?
Yes, I have a minimum number of nights. That's two, only two.
Okay. All right. So, Gary, throughout this whole journey, because I think we're going to have another show where we're going to talk about Airbnb only and the strategy around that. But in terms of that journey, my thinking is the car rental help the guest house business, or did the guest house business actually end up helping the car rental in the end? How would you explain the complementary relationship, and what percentage of your guests you think rent a car from you?
Okay, nice question. Yes. So, and even having been in the car rental business, people always ask me, do you know a place that we could spend a couple nights? And most of those persons who were actually doing business, well, you could see they're modest people, and they're people who don't necessarily want to be in a hotel environment, but they want to be in a community, in a place where they feel safe, and in a place that suit their budget. You know, so with people having asking me where can I get accommodation and all of that. That's one of the things that really encouraged me, and it really complement this business, the guest house business. And also, when persons come, some of the time or most times they don't know, if I'm getting a booking away from the platforms, they don't know that I have car rental. So they usually ask me, where can I get car rental, reasonably priced. So I usually give them a nice package with room and car. or if they've already booked their room, I give them a good price on the car rental. Example, once you book with us, you book with LPI accommodations, Laposwet LPI accommodations, then you don't pay a deposit on the car rental, you know, because I mean we use that as I would say, I mean, a gesture, good gesture for our guests, and good incentive for our guests to come back and to probably give us some advertisement through word of mouth.
So you would say almost all of your guests who stay with you who rent your cars.
Yes, like I would say
Okay.
about 80 to 90% of my guests. Yeah, the only
Okay.
time
Okay.
you find they would rent a car is probably if they don't know that we have car rental. Yeah,
Okay.
or we are unable to drop a car probably down V4 on the airport for them. That's the only time. Or we'd advise them otherwise, or if we don't have any vehicles.
I'm sure the platforms have the option of allowing you to tag onto a car, just like Expedia, as a kind of like an end unit or the end portal, um, or the customer facing portal part of the portal. But I guess you as a provider, I'm sure there will be an opportunity in time to actually also add list cars the same way you're listing rooms. But as my final question, throughout this whole journey, what advice would you have for our listeners, anyone interested in starting off on the property ladder or real estate investing?
Okay. My first advice is keep your dream alive. That's very important. The thing is, many people dream, and a lot of people don't end up fulfilling that dream. And you have an opportunity still, because the fact that you're still alive, it means that you still have a contribution to make, or you do have a contribution to make. I say go make that contribution no matter what. Don't let anyone deter you. I mean, it's very difficult because one of the first set of persons that will deter you when you set out to do something that is probably out of the ordinary, are the people closest to you most of the time, your family. So you must guard yourself, not against, but guard yourself, you know. So when you actually perceive that someone is not on your side, it's difficult to move away. I've explained that again, but you have to let go. You have to set yourself apart. Imagine there's a story in the Bible about Jesus Christ. He went away for 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, there was a fundamental reason why he did that. So I say you let it go. I say you go away. I say you separate yourself, you know, and then you decide at what point you want to start to pursue your dreams, because you alone can decide that. And one thing, I mean, the challenges will always keep coming, because the moment you set out on that journey, I mean, all hell will break loose. Just to let you know, all hell will break loose. But keep focus. One of the things that you have to do is to keep focus, and then keep it in your mind that you have to achieve that particular purpose, because it means that you have to map it out and you have to create your own footprints, and sometimes nobody have walked there before, but you have to create your own. And that is where the men are separated from the boys and the girls separated from the women. And then you have to know that you cannot give up, because if you do, that's probably the one of the worst things you'll be doing to yourself, you know. I mean, I believe that you must achieve what you set out to, because you send a very positive message out there that it can be done, and other people will be motivated and encouraged by it. So keep it alive, you know keep the journey alive, walk the journey, continue to walk it no matter how difficult it is, because challenges are there to overcome. And if there are no troubles, if there are no problems, then there's nothing to solve. Everybody will be by the beach with the feet up. but there are things to be done. So I say to you, do it. Don't linger. Do it. Because yesterday I was 18. Today I'm 40 something. So don't linger. Yeah, don't linger. Begin the
Okay.
journey now, and take it seriously.
Okay. All right, Gary. Wow. Quite moving words, and when I mean, I'm overwhelmed with some of the things that you said because I've known you for some time, and they are powerful words. And we hear it time and time again from almost all of our guests, the importance of having a dream, having courage, sometimes, in fact, most times going against the tide. And that does not mean that you're not listening, because you still can listen to advice family members and loved ones have. What I always say is, because they love us and they care about us, they don't want to see us fail. But at the same time, you know that if you don't try, you wouldn't know if you will not fail. Because instead of falling or failing, you might fly and you might win.
Yeah.
And in most cases, with the right discipline, our guests actually show that they're actually winning in their respective areas because of that courage and focus. Okay, so
Wonderful.
you've been listening to another episode of the Caribbean Property Investment Podcast and the Riveting Story. We want to thank you for your support. Share our socials, share the podcast. Send us your questions at caribbeanpropertyinvesting@gmail.com. Check our website, caribbeanpropertyinvesting.com, or all of our handles on social media. Until next time, as I always say, everyone needs somewhere to live. You might as well own yours. See you.
I love my community. It teaches you the importance of being together even through difficult times. Business owners doing their best to make it through. Fishermen and farmers working hard to put food on our tables. Nurses caring for the sick shows me who we are made of. People who care. I guess it's about growing together.
To ruminate, to create your ultimate living space. And at Courts, you'll find what you need. Choose from our wide range of furniture, electronics, and accessories to complete your space. We're here and ready to assist. Give us a call to place your order. Shop online at shopcourts.com or visit us in store. So ruminate at Courts, bringing value home.
Congratulations and thank you for tuning in to the Caribbean's first property investing podcast. We want to help Caribbean people create wealth and achieve financial freedom through property investing. Our show provides general advice based on personal experiences and is for educational purposes only. For more information, resources, and past episodes, visit us at caribbeanpropertyinvesting.com. Remember to click the subscribe button so you never miss a show. Let's go.